Hey, good morning, Charles. How are you?
Good morning, Dan. I am very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm well as well.
Excellent. I've got some exciting plans to share, things that are going well with me, but let's start with you. What's been working for you lately?
What's been working for me lately, actually, I we talked about this briefly before I got on the show. I had a bit of a, you can probably hear my voice a little bit of a sore throat yesterday, and
Yeah.
just really kind of knocked me out. And I battled my brain back, the part of my brain that was feeling guilty about not doing anything all day. And forcing myself to rest. And part of what, I was a little cloudy in the head, so that, I knew I wasn't going to be operating efficiently, but, you know, I kept going back and forth, like feeling guilty because I was a little bit behind on stuff. And so I was the other part of my brain was like, hey, listen, you need to rest. You're not going to do it well. You're gonna have to probably redo anything you do right now over again anyway. Just suck it up. It's okay. Rest. And and that would be good for like an hour or so, and then I start to feel a little bit guilty again, and so it's just this constant loop back and forth with one part of my brain, the other part of my brain. But the times where I was able to rest and not feel guilty started to get a little bit longer. So practice makes perfect, I guess. And because I rested, I was able to do the podcast with you this morning, so that went well for me. So I'm patting myself on the back for talking myself down a little bit. So.
Yeah, well done. I'm proud of you. I fight
And
those same.
Thank you.
I fight those same instincts when I'm not feeling good. Like I still have to get stuff done, and how many of my colds or flus do I punish myself with an extra day or two only because I didn't take it seriously at the beginning? That's the thing you run into.
Yeah. It's and then you kind of cross your fingers as you wake up a little bit healthier the next day. Who knows, right? So who knows how long it could potentially last if you don't get enough rest and TLC. So anyway, how about you? What's come well for you this week?
Okay, well, I am happy to share a few things with you. First, a little inside baseball for the people that appreciate it. I am about to turn on low data mode for our podcast because I'm still working from my phone. So when I disappear on your screen, that's the reason why. Okay. Now, so let's talk about what's going on with me. I found some keto compliant replacement meal shakes that I've been doing for the last 11 days. And I've been on average replacing 2 of my meals a day with a milkshake, or, well, I guess it would be a cream or a butter shake, technically speaking. And that's been going awesome. I finally found something. We've talked about this before. You can eat what's good for you, almost regardless of how it tastes, in my opinion. Where I only eat things that are good for me when they're yummy. And so I have found a very, like, at least a half a dozen flavors of these shakes that I've been trying, ordering like one serving at a time from Amazon, trying all the different varieties. And I found some that I am absolutely crazy about, and they are just really, really good and really filling. And as a result, I've been able to keep my daily carbs and calories right where I feel like they need to be. And the scale has been confirming that I've been correct on that. And so I'm really excited about this, and that has prompted me to look into the keto community a little bit more in general, and seeing what people are doing, what's working for them. And whenever I can spend money on gadgets or conventions, I'm always excited to do that. And so as of a couple days ago, I now have plans to go to KetoCon in Austin next month and learn a whole lot of stuff about primarily, I think the thing I'm looking for is more foods and shakes and solutions that will make it easy for me. Keep that behavior line where it needs to be for me to still stay excited and keeping this working for me. So I want to mostly learn about cooking stuff and mixing stuff that will make staying in ketosis easy for me. I've had some days where my net carbs for that day are like 5 to 8. So I'm really in the ketogenic zone right now. And even on days where I go a little bit over, I think my biggest day may have been 22 or 23 net carbs in a day. So I'm feeling pretty good about my level of compliance right now. And so I just made the arrangements to go to KetoCon, shared them with you, and now you're going with me. So we're both going to go, and I'm really looking forward to it. The only other time I've been to Austin once on a job with your company, and it was during South by Southwest. But all I did was work all day and then go back to my hotel room and sleep at night and watch TV. And so I'm looking forward to having a little bit more fun in Austin this time around next month when we go out there for a weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never been there. I've never been to a KetoCon. I've been dabbling with keto on and off for many years. I did do a low carb cruise one time. And I think it was out of Houston. We actually left out of there.
Interesting.
But I'm excited for this. I'm going to see some people I haven't seen in a while from the Primal Health Coach space that I was involved with for a while. And yeah, so I'm excited, but I wanted to congratulate you more on not just the weight loss and the progress there, but the habit that sounds like you're forming, which is being able to track your food, and it's not quite as painful as you've alluded to in the past. So
Yes.
It sounds like you found ways to make that a little bit easier. And as we talked about, I think at where you are weight wise in terms of making any more progress, you really need to do a lot of that tracking. And it sounds like you found an easy way to do it, and it's starting to become a little bit more automatic for you. So that's what I wanted to kind of give you some kudos for the most, actually. So
yeah,
that's going to make a difference.
I think hand in hand, discovering the shakes that I like and tracking everything that I'm eating, really the two of those things together is what is making this feel like different than other times that I've decided I should really start watching what I eat, be a little bit more attentive. It's like, no, the thing is, once I put it in my mouth, I immediately look it up and put it in the food tracker. And then as a result, and the one I'm using right now is called Chronometer. And I like it because Keto Chow, the company that makes the shakes that I'm having, they frequently release new versions of the mix for these shakes. And whenever they have a new version, they update all the nutrition information in this app. So I know that I'm always, using very, very targeted, very accurate information for the shakes that I'm having. And it has a pretty good database of other foods as well. And the thing I also like is it's able to import all the data from Apple Health. So if I have a day where I walk 25,000 steps as opposed to a day where I only walk 8,000 or 9,000 steps, it does the calculation for me, in almost real time to say, okay, it's dinner time. You've walked 20,000 steps today. So now you've got this many calories remaining that you can have for dinner. And, it's just right there for me in black and white based on the actual calculations it's doing based on the activity that my Apple Watch is reporting. So it feels like, it feels more informed than just, plugging into a macro calculator that says, okay, I'm this age, I'm this weight, I'm this height. I consider myself to be moderately active, and it just spits out, okay, here's how many calories, you should eat a day. I know that there are probably more sophisticated and accurate ways to track it, but I like that it's given me this one. It feels a little bit more, just a nudge more than just working off of a calculator that's telling me, okay, here's what you should be doing for the rest of the day today.
Yeah. And if nothing else, it motivates you to maybe, do a little bit more physical activity, right? Because it's going to count. And it's going to count in a way that matters, which is, the tummy, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm doing
I like that app too. Yeah.
I'm doing a step challenge right now with Way Better, where I only have to do, I think, 5 days a week, where I've got to do 4 active days and 1 power day. But at this point, I'm just I'm hitting my goals every day because it feels better to hit them than to take a day off. And so I'm not gonna beat myself up if I take a day off, but if my schedule with work and what else I got going on with me allows, I'm going to hit at least my active goal every day of this week, because why not? It feels good. So that's what's going on well for me. And the other thing is I've got another trip that I booked in 12 days. I got an update from one of the Instagram accounts that I follow. I've always wanted to go to Washington, D.C. at the peak of the cherry blossoms. And so I got a great deal on a flight, and I am going to fly up early one day and then fly back late that same day after a day of walking around and taking pictures of the cherry blossoms all over downtown DC. So I am super excited about that.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see those pictures.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. They're supposed to peak between March 22nd and 25th this year, which is a little earlier than usual. But yeah, I think it's a Spirit flight where I'm flying up early in the morning, flying home late at night. I think it costs me $71 out the door for the round trip ticket. So all I have to do is pay for a train to and from BWI and wear some comfortable shoes and maybe bring a little battery pack for my phone. And I'm just going to walk around and take a bunch of pictures and do what I can to eat responsibly while I'm in Washington, D.C., which is a great food town because of all the, diplomats and people from all over the world that live and work there. There's a lot of great food. So I'm gonna have a little fun that day, maybe eat a meal that I wouldn't normally eat because I'll be on vacation that day. But I'm really looking forward to it. And then, last thing, a week from Wednesday, which is 5 days from now, on March 15th, I find out if I got a winning spot in the Mount Whitney lottery. And if so, then I'm going to be back amongst the maniacs that run around for no reason, 5K training, possibly 10K training, hitting the Stairmaster machine at my gym, getting back into squatting for endurance instead of just for strength gains. So I'll be if I get a spot in the lottery, I'm going to be back into training mode to increase the strength of my legs and also my cardiovascular endurance, because this year I picked all good days. If I get any of them, I'm going to go out to California. I'm going to hike Mount Whitney.
Nice. Yeah, that's great, man.
Exciting times. Thank you. I'm pretty excited by everything that's going on right now. So hopefully things will continue to go well toward those goals. All right. Anything you'd like to bring up before we dive into sexual market value?
Not yet. No.
All right, cool. So this is a topic that we start delving into some of the red pill sort of pickup artist adjacent nonsense that the author of this book, Atomic Attraction, gets into. And so, yeah, there'll be quite a few times where I call out things that I don't think make a lot of sense in the real world. And the next chapter is even better or worse, depending on what your perspective is. But yeah, let's dive into what sexual market value means and how it affects your ability to create and sustain relationships. So I'll start and just jump in when you feel the need. I know our connection is a little bit laggy, so it takes a minute for me to stop talking before you can jump in. So I will try to give you ample opportunity. So here's the deal. When it comes to selecting mates, people have opportunities based on how attractive they are perceived by their target market. And for most cases, when we're talking about it in context of this book, it's going to be heterosexual men and heterosexual women. And so the more attractive you are, the more options you will have. The more options you have, the more attractive you're perceived as being by your target market. So, for example, actors, professional athletes, people like that are perceived as being attractive to women because they have lots of options. And so there's an implied scarcity there. Like, oh, okay, this guy is good looking, he's attractive, he's well known, therefore he could probably get a lot of women. And because he could get a lot of women, that makes the women who see him more attracted to him than they would be if he was a relatively unknown stranger. Okay. The good news for guys like you and me, Dan, is we don't have to be celebrities. We don't have to be well known in order to be found attractive by the women that are in our social circle. We just have to present ourselves and I would argue we have to be more attractive than most of the guys that surround us. And I like to make a distinction that the author does not like to make, or doesn't choose to make as often as I think he should, which is being attractive and having options with women, with who you date. It's not just about looking like you're attractive. It's not just about looking like you're strong and masculine. It's about being those things, because you can only pretend to be those things for so long. And if you're only concerned with short-term relationships, meaning, an hour, a night, a couple of weeks, then yeah, maybe you can fake it to the point where people will think that you're something that you're not. But in all honesty, I think even on the short-term level, that is not a way to go for enjoyment, meaning, fulfillment on really any kind of level. If you constantly put yourself in a place where, yeah, I can get girls for a little while until they find out what I really am, and then they'll have no interest in being around me whatsoever anymore, then I don't consider that a path to a fulfilled romantic life, even if you're young and even if you're okay with it being short term. I think ultimately, and this is not a moral or religious judgment, I think ultimately that churn and burn mentality when it comes to romantic partners, I don't think it makes guys feel as good as the media would have us believe that it does. So please jump in on that however you'd like to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the very definition of fulfillment, meaningful, those are words that really I don't feel can be met with short-term or very, limited amount of experiences, right? So, what you had just talked about, which is if you are kind of faking it about, being attractive because you're pretending to be something that you're not, and the churn and burn, you might get some, short-term pleasure out of that, but that's different than a longer term type of word, which was what you were using in terms of fulfillment. And I think joy is also, it implies a little bit of a longer term experience, right? And that's I think that's really where you need to think about things is, if you want the longer term, good feelings to be there, which may not be as intense as the short term, which is why I think a lot of people, they go for these quick fixes. They do what they can to, to pretend that they are high value or attractive. And it doesn't really matter that they, whether they are or not, because they're after that dopamine hit, that real quick, that quick fix of joy. But where does that leave you when you come down from that, right? Does that require then another hit of dopamine and that experience, that short-term experience? Or do you want to kind of get off that roller coaster and just, feel good most of the time in a longer term relationship? And I think a lot of that also has to do with, because you are doing things that make you actually attractive instead of pretending to be attractive, you're getting a lot of that joy and fulfillment from yourself, not just the relationships that you're able to cultivate at that point, but you're feeling better about yourself. One, I think it's a lot less stressful than having to, put on the show and fake it, all the time. But two, what the truth is, what reality is. And that kind of comes across in your brain and the way you behave and the way you act. So I feel like my opinion here is that that good feelings, the joy, that fulfillment also comes from within as well, not just from a more stable relationship.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I love that you specifically mentioned roller coaster, because that set me up for something I was gonna say. I've recently been reading a little bit about different kinds of fun, and something an article I found on, or a quick entry I found on REI's website. They have the awesome stores for like outdoor equipment and gear and stuff, and they did an article on the fun scale, which is type 1 fun, type 2 fun, and type 3 fun. And type 1 fun, the best example of it is a roller coaster, because on a roller coaster, you don't really have to do anything other than, you buy a ticket and then you stand in line. But other than that, you get on the roller coaster and it's a blast while you're doing it. But, as far as fun goes, it's kind of empty calories, right? You ride the roller coaster, you finish the roller coaster. It was a blast while you were on it, but you don't really come away with it with any kind of enduring, contentment from a roller coaster. It's just a fun experience that you enjoy in the moment. So that's type 1 fun. Type 2 fun is something like going on a long, strenuous hike where while you're in the middle of it, it feels kind of miserable. It's something that you have to challenge yourself to get through. But then, years later, you can look back on it and you just feel good when you think about the experience and the accomplishment. And I mean, I still go and look back at the picture of me at the top of Half Dome. And part of what feels so good about that picture is how much work it took to get there. And the fact that there's, other than cracking open Photoshop, there's no way you get that picture without doing the work first. There's no gondola that takes you to the top of Half Dome. There's no helipad up there where you could take a helicopter to the top and, jump off the helicopter, get a picture, then hop back on. It's the only people that have pictures of themselves at the top of Half Dome is people who hiked to the top of Half Dome. So that would be type 2 fun. And then type 3 fun is fun that it wasn't fun while you were doing it. It's not particularly fun looking back at it, but it was something you had to do and you're glad that you did it. But it still doesn't feel like fun even after the fact. And one of the examples they use is the feeling you get after you write a book. Writing a book, does not feel like a lot of fun while you're going through it. You don't look back on it and say, boy, those weeks of sitting in front of my computer, dealing with my writer's block and having to do the research and all that wasn't fun either. But man, I'm glad that I got through writing a book, and I'm glad that, my thoughts are out there now forever, as long as people are reading books. I went through this project, and now my thoughts are on paper or digital or whatever, and people will always associate me with these things I put down on paper. And so, I feel like relationships can be attacked the same way. And it's there's a time and a place for type 1 fun, and there's a time and a place for type 2 and type 3 fun. But if you set yourself for a diet of only type 1 fun relationships, it's gonna be like, I only eat Lucky Charms and Snicker bars every day for 5 years. You're not going to feel great if you set up that kind of a long-term pattern for yourself when it comes to your relationships or your diet.
Right. Interesting.
All right. So let's talk about some
type 1, type 2, type 3. I was like, oh, you mean diabetes?
Which one's type 3? Is that just being dead?
No, actually, they're talking about, I think it's either dementia or Alzheimer's. I think basically they're calling type 3 diabetes because similar to what happens with your kidneys is because you have too much sugar in your blood. What happens is it damages the really small the nephrons, the tiny little blood vessels in your kidneys and your eyes. But they've also found that happens in the brain because you have too much sugar. And so what they're finding, I think it's Alzheimer's, is that people with Alzheimer's, they're calling it type 3 diabetes because a lot of the damage in the brain is being caused from eating too much sugar and too many carbohydrates.
Interesting. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's use an example here from the book about some of the things that lead to being unattractive and some of what that communicates. Now, Canwell, I mean, he's a little hard, in my opinion, on the example of a guy that's overweight, and so I would tend to not use the term overweight because that's so subjective. The way, I mean, you can look at two guys of the exact same height and weight, and one of them can look much more attractive than the other, and that has to do with body shape and how they're lean body mass compared to their body fat percentage and things like that. So when he talks about overweight, I feel more comfortable, and tell me if you agree, I would rather use the term out of shape. Like when you look at a guy who is out of shape, that is a little bit more concrete to me than referring to someone as being overweight. I know, what overweight means is there's an assumption there of high body fat or whatever, but I would say somebody who is out of shape to the point it looks like they're struggling walking around and just getting done sort of the normal processes of life. That is what sort of correlates with me for unattractiveness more than just being overweight, because overweight just feels too nebulous to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and I take it to the next level, which is, when you say out of shape, I would literally say, what shape do you have? Because the kind of clothes that you wear make a difference. So somebody could be, have a higher percentage of body fat than someone else, but if they are wearing clothes that fit them better, and don't, show off, a beer belly or, or areas that, show that they are out of shape. Literally, shape is the key here. So, some clothes will hide that, some clothes won't. So I think the impression that you are giving people, I mean, if everybody's walking around naked, then I would say, yeah, we don't need to talk about clothing and the way you're presenting yourself at all. Right. But at this point, because clothes can really alter the way you appear, I think it's important to go, okay, if you're always well put together and you've got the right clothes and they fit you well, and your shape does not look like you are out of what a normal, healthy shape looks like, then I think you're okay.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. I agree with you. And I would say that discussing clothes sort of brings this discussion right where I was hoping it would go, which is, the last few episodes we've talked about developing the behaviors and practices that lead to what we could call the more superficial aspects of attractiveness, right? The way that you style your hair, the way that you dress, the things you do for your body, the scents that you wear. I mean, one could argue that, okay, those things are just superficial markers of attractiveness. And I would agree to a point that is true, except those markers, they do sort of communicate a mindset and even a discipline and a set of priorities that a man has. So, just going to the gym and lifting weights so that your muscles go bigger or get bigger. Yeah, you could argue that, well, that's just superficial, but someone who spends enough time in the gym to actually have an impact on the way they look, what be that in clothes or out of clothes, that does send a message of some other likely, not necessarily true, but likely things that are going on with that person, such as they're strong, they're healthy, they have good genes, they respect and care about the way that their body functions, they have focus, they have persistence, just all the good things that sort of underlie a habit of spending time in the gym working on your body. Also, facial hair, you could say, oh, it's, it's a superficial choice, whether you choose to have a beard or you don't choose to have a beard. But again, what we learned in that chapter was, no, facial hair is sort of a communicator of masculinity, of health, of the presence of testosterone in your body. So a lot of these things that we've talked about, they seem like just on the surface, okay, this guy likes to buy and wear fancy clothes, so, big deal. It's like, well, it does mean that he takes his appearance seriously. He's not just buying the cheapest clothes or the most comfortable clothes. He's actually putting some effort into cultivating or curating a style that reflects his personality to the world. And I think it's very easy to just write off some of the behaviors we're talking about as, well, that'll only appeal to women if they're superficial and shallow and blah, blah, blah. And I would push against that and say, no, it does more than that. It communicates, these are the things that I care about. These are my values. These are the things I find important to spend time and effort on. And that is part of who I am as a man. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I'm going to use one of your favorite quotes here, is how you do anything is how you do everything. And that in this case here, it's, if you care about your body, and that shows, and you care about what you wear, and that shows, you may not exactly do everything where you care that much, but you are more likely to care than you're not, right? And
yes.
so you are already communicating to people without even speaking a word in terms of if you are in shape, if you are choosing clothes that look good on you, smells that smell good on you, or just putting on some sort of cologne or deodorant at all. It shows that you care about something, and you're more likely, if people are going to gamble, and we try to also make shortcuts with our brains to try to figure things out to make things easier for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we love making shortcuts. And so our brain is immediately going to be influenced in the way that says, okay, you care about this. You're more likely to care about other things. So that's a good thing. But also, unfortunately, if you are looking to kind of fake it and pretend to be attractive, these are also ways in terms of, just buying like one nice outfit, right? And going around
right.
and just faking it that way, right? So some people online, for their success, a lot of times they'll rent a luxury automobile and take pictures of themselves in the car and have a landing page and say, oh, hey, look how successful I am, right? In front of like a mansion that they rented, for the weekend off of Airbnb, whatever it is. And, that it's still, unfortunately, it still brings in a lot of people. It still works. However, again, it's not it's not a recipe for long-term happiness and success, but it just goes to show how powerful that is in terms of making that deep impression on people from that positive one choice. People are going to start assuming that you do everything else in a way that you care about, right? And that matters, and that you can be successful in.
No, absolutely. And that's a great example where, yes, you can try to cheat the system in the short term, and you may get some success that way. You may be, it may work for you, but who people are eventually comes out after enough time. And that seems to always be the case. So one of the things that, this book is sort of keeping in mind, and I would agree with based on the feedback I've gotten from dating partners as well as women that I'm friends with, is that most women feel like there is a short supply of attractive, high value men that are still single and available in the dating pool. Like, I've cited the study before from, I believe it was OkCupid, where they had women look at pictures of men and rate them as being attractive, above average attractive, or below average attractive. And something like 80% of the men were categorized as below average attractiveness, which we know is not how averages work. The way that averages work is that, half are below, half are above, and that's the way that it goes. But the perception was that, looking at all these guys that they showed them pictures of, was like, no, like 80% of them I consider unattractive, and only 20% would I consider attractive. And that is, that definitely testifies to the fact that I believe, men are not spending enough time doing the two things that make a man most attractive in a woman's eyes. And those two things are taking risks and investing effort in life. And the more that you take smart risks and the more you put effort into investing in yourself, and you can use these terms in the broadest of senses. I mean, investing in yourself can be, spending a little bit more money on a nice haircut, or it can be, buying a course online to learn some new skill that you don't have. Both of those things make you more attractive than you would be otherwise. And so investing in yourself, really, it can be wide open. So, and then also taking risks like, introducing yourself to that girl that you saw at the coffee shop that you thought was pretty on the first day that you saw her instead of the third week that you saw her, things like that. Taking those kinds of risks make you more attractive. And so that's really the differentiator between a man in the, mating market that is perceived as being high value versus low value. It really does come down to, okay, what kind of risk is this man willing to take, and how much is he willing to invest effort in making his life better, and thereby making himself look more attractive.
Yeah, well said.
All right, so again, we've talked about the sort of superficial things up until this point, or the surface things, the things that you can pretty much look at a person or walk by a person, immediately tell how attractive they are compared to the other men in their mating market. But now we're going to start transitioning to a bit of more of the mindset and the specific behaviors that take place both pre and during relationships that will make men more attractive. So again, we're laying a foundation with you gotta worry about how your body looks. You got to worry about what clothes you're wearing. You got to worry about how you're grooming yourself. You got to worry about your hygiene and your preferences for again, things like clothes, accessories, styling products. I mean, all those things are important, because bad decisions in any of those areas can sort of eliminate you from being considered as a potential dating partner. So what you don't want to do is make decisions or fail to make decisions that immediately eliminate you right off the bat of, okay, the way this guy's dressed, the way this guy doesn't care about his hair or his grooming or his hygiene. I mean, those are the kind of things that will immediately take you from being a potential dating option to just being some guy that's hanging out at Starbucks. So once you kind of get those in place and you give some serious consideration to what message, what first impression you want to put out there, now we're going to start getting into the nuts and bolts of what it takes to have attractive behaviors that really drive everything else. It's how attractive you are in your interactions with people that matter for both, long and short-term relationships. It's your first impression can disqualify you from having a chance with some people. And so let's get those on point. And then after your first impressions have been kind of worked out, then it comes down to, okay, how do you actually act? How do you behave? How do you interact with people that will make people, and women specifically, want to be around you more than they already are? Because that really is the foundation for any kind of romantic relationship. You need to have a woman feel like, I'd like to spend more, not less time around this guy. And the way that you act is going to define your success in that area. So the next chapter in the book, which we're not going to get into yet, but I want to kind of just set the table for it. It's entitled Good Guys versus Bad Guys. And again, we're going to get into some real red pill pickup artist horseshit in this next chapter, and I will be disagreeing with the author frequently and saying, okay, here's what I wish he meant, here's how I see this based on my life experience, and here's what I've seen work for me, as opposed to some very cliche sort of cookie cutter ideas that you can pick up on some of the darker subreddits online. And I'm looking forward to it, because you and I have talked about this before, Dan. The thing that I enjoy more than almost anything is dispelling myself of a myth, like learning a new way to think about things that I've thought about the wrong way for a long time. And the more of these sort of problematic chapters that we get into, the more opportunity I think there is to say, okay, here's what you may have heard, and here's how I see that the world actually works. And I'm excited about getting into that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that red pill stuff comes from a place of people initially starting out being insecure and kind of building up a fake type of persona of confidence. And I think that's where it kind of comes across as inauthentic. A lot of these topics and a lot of these methodologies, from what I've read in the book, as well as what I've learned from other places about a lot of these red pill ideas. And I think I don't know if that ever translates into, the faking it until you make it, if that actually does translate into confidence down the road. But I feel like if you're coming across in a confident manner, no matter what you're doing, that is going to be the bottom line, it's going to be an authentic, confident way. People's insides, our internal spidey senses, intuition, whatever you want to call it, will pick up on that. And so I think, my thought here is really, find things that you can be good at to build that true confidence, and then let that carry over into other areas of your life.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, real confidence only comes from competence, and competence only comes from deep thinking and deep practice. Getting good at the things that you didn't used to be good at is what makes you competent. And then once you're competent, then you'll feel that confidence, and that will come across in everything you do. So whether that's lifting weights at the gym, or approaching a stranger because you think she's attractive and you'd like to get to know her better, the only way that you can get actually comfortable and confident and competent by those things is by practicing repetitions. And when you try to short circuit that by what I often describe as doing an impression of a strong, confident man, you can do an impression of somebody who's strong and confident for a while, but after not too long, or in the light of day, especially when you think of it, acting like a confident man who's good at picking up women in the club at 1 a.m. when everybody's drunk is probably pretty easy. But when you get that number and you want to invite her out for a day date or a picnic or something like that, and your behavior is no longer convincing, that's going to be very apparent. And good luck on getting date number 3 when you've just been exposed as a faker. You know what I mean? So we're going to get into some of that stuff, and I look forward to it, and because it's exciting, and I think it can dispel a lot of men of some of the myths that they are so easy to pick up on YouTube videos and on Reddit, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, sounds good. Can't wait.
All right, Dan, I will talk to you again soon. Take it easy. Hope you keep feeling better.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.